My billionaire CEO ex-new wife told my twins they had no inheritance until the lawyers read what shocked the room. Before we begin, I want everyone here to understand something. Veronica's voice cut through the conference room like glass shattering on marble. Her perfectly manicured finger pointed across the mahogany table at 217. Year-old boys who sat motionless, their hands clasped together beneath the table. These two ungrateful brats get absolutely nothing. Every single dollar of Alexander's empire belongs to me now. He promised me everything before he died. The lawyer, Harrison Montgomery, adjusted his silver-rimmed glasses slowly, deliberately. He looked at the sealed envelope in front of him, then back at Veronica with an expression that gave nothing. Away. Actually, Mrs. Thorne, there is something you should know. Your husband updated his will 2 weeks before his death. This is not the document you're expecting. Veronica's confident smile froze on her face. Her hand, still pointing at the twins, trembled slightly before she lowered it. What are you talking about? Alexander would have told me if he changed anything. We told each other everything. Mr. Montgomery opened the envelope with careful precision. He specifically requested that you not be informed, Mrs. Thorne. And before I read the contents of this will, I need to tell you that this entire meeting has been recorded. Every word you've spoken since entering this room has been captured on camera with audio. Your late husband arranged for this documentation. The color drained from Veronica's face. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. That's illegal. You can't record someone without their consent in Massachusetts. You're correct about Massachusetts being a two-party consent state, Mr. Montgomery replied calmly. However, the recording that matters most occurred 8 minutes ago, before you were informed of any conditions in the will. Would you like me to show you? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To understand how we arrived at this moment, to understand why a billionaire CEO would set up cameras to catch his own wife in the act of cruelty, we need to go back to 6 months earlier, when Alexander Thorne was still alive and his twin sons were learning to survive in their own home. 6 months before the will reading, Jasper Thorne's phone alarm buzzed at exactly 5:47 in the morning. He silenced it immediately, his hand moving with the practiced speed of someone who had done this hundreds of times before. In the darkness of his bedroom in their Beacon Hill brownstone, he sent a quick text to his brother. Clear. 3 seconds later, the response came from across the hallway. Moving now. Jasper dressed quickly in the dark, pulling on jeans and a sweater without turning on any lights. He grabbed his backpack, already packed the night before with textbooks and his laptop. He moved to his bedroom door and opened it carefully, making sure the hinges didn't creak. The hallway was dark and silent. Cole emerged from his room at the same time, also dressed, also carrying his packed bag. The twins were identical in appearance, both with dark hair and their mother's expressive eyes. But where Jasper was analytical and careful, Cole was creative and intuitive. Together, they had learned to move through their home like ghosts. They descended the grand staircase together, avoiding the 3rd and 7th steps which creaked under weight. They had mapped every sound in this house over 4 years of living with their stepmother, Veronica. They knew which floorboards groaned, which doors squeaked, which cabinets clicked too loudly when opened. They knew the exact time Veronica's alarm went off, 6 o'clock every morning, and they made sure it'd be gone 13 minutes before that. In the kitchen, Cole grabbed 2 granola bars from the cabinet while Jasper filled 2 water bottles from the sink. They didn't turn on lights. They didn't make coffee or toast. They didn't want to risk any sound that might wake her. The front door closed behind them at 5:58 with a soft click. Outside, October air bit at their faces as they walked quickly away from the brownstone. Boston was still dark at this hour, the streetlights glowing in the pre-dawn darkness. A few early joggers passed them. A man walked his dog. The city was waking up, but the Thorne household remained quiet behind them. Made it, Cole said quietly, once they were a full block away. Another day, Jasper replied. They walked in silence toward the nearest T-station, sharing 1 pair of earbuds between them, each taking one side. They had been doing this routine every school day for almost 4 years now. Wake before Veronica. Leave before Veronica. Return after their father was home from work. Minimize contact. Maximize survival. Do you remember when we used to have breakfast in the kitchen? Cole asked as they descended the steps into the subway station. When Mom would make pancakes on Saturday mornings. Jasper remembered. He remembered their mother Catherine in the kitchen, laughing as she flipped pancakes that were always slightly burned on one side. He remembered his father Alexander sitting at the table reading the newspaper, looking up to smile at his wife and sons. He remembered feeling safe and loved and normal. That was a long time ago, Jasper said quietly. Their mother had died 4 years ago when they were 13. An aneurysm, sudden and shocking, no warning at all. One day she was healthy and vibrant and alive. The next day she was gone, and their world had shattered. Their father had drowned in grief. For 6 months Alexander Thorne had barely functioned. He went to work because his company demanded it, but at home he was a ghost. He didn't cook. He didn't clean. He hardly spoke. The twins had learned to take care of themselves during those months, making their own meals, doing their own laundry, completing their homework without help. Then Alexander had met Veronica at a business conference. She was beautiful, charming, attentive. She had listened to his grief and offered comfort. She had met his sons and played the role of caring stepmother perfectly. She had asked about their grades, their interests, their feelings about their mother's death. She had said all the right things. They married 18 months after Catherine's death. Too soon, Jasper had thought even then. Much too soon. And within a week of Veronica moving into their home, the twins had discovered who she really was. The train arrived and they boarded, finding seats together near the back of the car. The morning commuters filled the other seats, people in business clothes staring at phones or reading newspapers. Nobody paid attention to 2 teenage boys on their way to school. At Commonwealth Preparatory Academy, one of Boston's most prestigious private schools, the twins separated to go to their different classes. Jasper headed to advanced placement calculus while Cole went to his architecture and design studio. Jasper slid into his seat by the window just as the bell rang. Mrs. Roberts, his calculus teacher, was already writing equations on the board. She turned and smiled when she saw him. "Good morning, Jasper. I graded your exam from last week." She walked over and placed his test on his desk. 98%. "Excellent work as always." "Thank you," Jasper said quietly. "Have you given any thought to where you want to apply for college?" Mrs. Roberts asked. "With your grades and test scores, you could go anywhere." "I'm thinking MIT, Jasper said, "for economics and business." Mrs. Roberts nodded approvingly. "Your father's alma mater. He must be very proud." Jasper didn't respond to that. He opened his notebook and started copying the equations from the board, focusing on the numbers, letting the mathematics quiet his mind. Across campus in the design studio, Cole was sketching a building concept in his notebook. He loved architecture, loved the idea of creating spaces where people could live and work and feel safe. He had already been accepted early decision to the Rhode Island School of Design. In 6 months, he and Jasper would leave for college, and they would finally be free. 6 more months, Cole thought. Just 6 more months of Veronica. At lunch, Jasper sat alone in the library. He had a sandwich that he'd bought from the cafeteria, but he wasn't hungry. He was working on college applications, filling out forms, writing essays about his goals and aspirations. MIT was his top choice, but he was also applying to Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. He wanted options. He wanted to make sure he got far enough away from Veronica. His phone buzzed on the table beside him. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him open the message. "This is Harrison Montgomery, your father's attorney. I need to speak with you and your brother urgently. Your father came to see me yesterday. Can you come to my office after school? This cannot wait. Please don't mention this to anyone, especially not to Mrs. Thorne." Jasper's heart started pounding. He read the message 3 times, trying to understand it. His father had gone to see his lawyer. Urgently, and they weren't supposed to tell Veronica. He immediately forwarded the message to Cole and waited. 3 minutes later, Cole appeared in the library doorway, phone in hand, his face pale. "What do you think this is about?" Cole whispered as he sat down across from Jasper. "I don't know, but if Dad went to see Mr. Montgomery and specifically said not to tell Veronica, something's happening. Do you think he's finally filing for divorce?" Cole asked, hope flickering in his voice. Jasper wanted to believe that. For 4 years they had tried to tell their father the truth about Veronica, how she spoke to them when he wasn't around, how she called them worthless, stupid, mistakes, how she told them their mother had been weak and that they were just like her, how she made their home feel like a prison. But Alexander never believed them. He thought they were acting out because of grief. He thought they resented Veronica for replacing their mother. He told them to be more understanding, more patient, to give her a chance. After a while, the twins had stopped trying to convince him. They had learned to survive instead. The address Mr. Montgomery included is downtown, Jasper said, checking the message again. We can go after school. What if it's nothing? What if Dad just wants to update some paperwork for the company? Then we wasted an hour, Jasper said. But what if it's something? They looked at each other, identical faces showing identical expressions of cautious hope. After 4 years of not being believed, after 4 years of suffering in silence, maybe something was finally changing. At 3:30 that afternoon, instead of taking the train home, Jasper and Cole walked to Boston's financial district. The law offices of Montgomery and Associates occupied 3 floors of a glass tower overlooking the harbor. The lobby was all marble and chrome, expensive and intimidating. They gave their names to the receptionist, who smiled and said Mr. Montgomery was expecting them. She led them to an elevator, up to the 20th floor, down a hallway with thick carpet that absorbed all sound. The door to Mr. Montgomery's office was heavy wood with brass fixtures. Harrison Montgomery stood when they entered. He was in his late 60s with silver hair and a distinguished face. He had been their father's lawyer for over 20 years. Before that, he had been their grandfather's lawyer. The Thorne family had trusted him for generations. Thank you for coming so quickly, Mr. Montgomery said, shaking both their hands. His grip was firm and warm. Please, sit down. The office had floor-to-ceiling windows showing a panoramic view of Boston Harbor. The desk was organized and neat. Leather chairs faced the desk, and the twins sat down side by side. Is our father okay? Jasper asked immediately. That was his first fear, that something had happened to Alexander. Your father is fine, Mr. Montgomery assured them. He's actually in Singapore right now finalizing a merger, but he came to see me before he left, and he asked me to reach out to you both. He folded his hands on his desk and looked at them with kind but serious eyes. He asked me to do something I've never done in 40 years of practicing law. He asked me to meet with his sons without his wife's knowledge. Why? Cole asked, leaning forward. Because, Cole, your father has finally seen what you've been trying to tell him for 4 years. He knows now how Veronica treats you when he's not around. The words hung in the air between them. Jasper felt something crack open in his chest, something that might have been hope or might have been pain. He knows? Mr. Montgomery pulled out his phone and turned it to face them. On the screen was a paused video. He pressed play. The video showed their kitchen at home. The timestamp read 3 weeks ago, 6:45 in the evening. Through the window in the frame, Alexander's car was visible pulling into the driveway. Veronica stood at the counter, and in the corner of the frame, Cole was setting the table for dinner. I don't care if you finished your college applications. Veronica's voice came through clearly on the video. Your father's going to be home in 30 seconds and I need this table perfect. You're absolutely useless, you know that? Both of you. Your mother was weak and she raised weak, pathetic sons. Cole flinched watching it. Jasper felt rage building in his throat, hot and bitter. The housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, has been documenting Veronica's behavior for months, Mr. Montgomery said quietly. She was worried about you boys, but she didn't know what to do. Finally, she compiled all the videos and sent them to your father last month. He watched every single one. And then, he came to my office. Where is he now? Cole asked, his voice breaking. If he knows, why hasn't he said anything? Why hasn't he come home? He wanted to finalize the Singapore merger first. It's a $2 billion deal that's been in the works for 3 years, and he needed to see it through. But more importantly, he wanted to make sure you two were protected, no matter what happens. Protected how? Jasper asked. He's updated his will. If anything should happen to him, Veronica will receive almost nothing. The bulk of his estate, approximately $1.1 billion plus all business holdings, will go to you and Cole in a trust until you turn 25. She'll receive the house, but only under certain conditions. What kind of conditions? Cole asked. She has to treat you with basic human decency. She has to be kind to you. She cannot insult you or speak cruelly to you in any way. And your father, knowing Veronica as he now does, has arranged for insurance that she won't be able to fake her way through it. Jasper's head was spinning. You're talking like Dad might die. He's only 49. He's healthy. Your father is extremely healthy, Mr. Montgomery assured them, but he's also a man who plans for every contingency. He spent 2 decades building a business empire by thinking 3 steps ahead. He wanted you to know that if anything ever happened to him, you'd be safe. You'd be provided for, and Veronica would never be able to hurt you again. When is he coming back from Singapore? Jasper asked. Next Friday. He wants to meet with both of you that weekend. He's planning to file for divorce the following Monday. Cole exhaled shakily. Finally. Mr. Montgomery leaned forward, his expression gentle. He asked me to give you a message. He said to tell you that he's sorry. He said he failed you as a father by not believing you, but he's going to make it right. Jasper felt tears threatening for the first time in years. His father knew. His father finally believed them. His father was coming home to make everything right. They left Mr. Montgomery's office as the sun was setting over Boston Harbor, painting the water gold and orange. On the train ride home, they sat close together, not speaking, processing everything they'd learned. 6 more days, Cole said quietly. Dad comes home in 6 days and everything changes. We survived 4 years, Jasper said. We can survive 6 more days. But fate, as they would soon learn, had different plans. Alexander Thorne's heart attack happened at 2:37 in the morning, Singapore time, which was 2:37 in the afternoon in Boston. He was in a conference room on the 42nd floor of the Raffles Tower, signing the final documents for the merger that would make Thorne Industries one of the largest tech conglomerates in Asia. One moment he was reaching for his pen. The next moment he was on the floor, clutching his chest, unable to breathe. The other executives in the room immediately called for help. Paramedics arrived within minutes. They worked on him for 20 minutes, trying everything. Alexander Thorne was pronounced dead at 3:02 in the morning Singapore time. Massive coronary event, the doctor said. There was nothing anyone could have done. The call came to the Boston house at 3:15 in the afternoon. Veronica answered her phone, listened for 30 seconds, then screamed. The sound brought Mrs. Chen running from the kitchen. By the time Jasper and Cole got home from school at 4:30, Veronica was already dressed in black. She had changed clothes, fixed her makeup, and was on the phone with funeral homes, her voice professional and controlled. When the boys walked in, she looked up from her phone call. She covered the receiver with her hand. Your father is dead, she said flatly. Heart attack in Singapore. Then she went back to her phone call, discussing casket options and burial arrangements. Jasper and Cole stood in the foyer of their home, the world tilting sideways around them. Their father was dead. The man who had finally seen the truth, who had planned to protect them, who was supposed to come home in 6 days. Dead. They climbed the stairs together in silence and went to Cole's room. They sat on his bed, side by side, staring at the wall. Cole started crying first, quiet tears running down his face. Jasper put his arm around his brother and held him. Their mother was dead. Now their father was dead. They were orphans at 17, with 6 months until they turned 18, trapped with a woman who hated them. Mr. Montgomery said there's a new will, Cole finally whispered. Dad changed it. We're protected. If that's even legal, Jasper said. She's his wife. She'll contest it. She'll fight it. And she'll make our lives hell for the next 6 months. He was right about the last part at least. The funeral was held 5 days later at Trinity Church in Copley Square. Over 800 people attended. Business associates from Thorne Industries, employees from all levels of the company, friends from college, people from the neighborhood where Alexander had grown up. The church was filled to capacity. Jasper and Cole sat in the front pew wearing black suits that Mrs. Chen had helped them pick out. Veronica sat between them, her hand resting on each of their knees, presenting the image of a united family in grief. She was dressed in an expensive black designer dress that Jasper had never seen before. She must have bought it in the days after Alexander's death. Diamond earrings sparkled at her ears. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo. She looked like a woman attending a gala, not a funeral. During the service, she dabbed at her eyes with a black lace handkerchief. She made small sobbing sounds at appropriate moments. She squeezed the twins' hands when the pastor spoke about Alexander's love for his family. When it was time for eulogies, Veronica walked to the front of the church. She stood at the podium and looked out at the assembled mourners with red-rimmed eyes. Alexander Thorne was the love of my life, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. We had such a beautiful marriage. He was brilliant, kind, generous. He loved his sons more than anything in this world. She gestured toward Jasper and Cole. We are devastated by this loss, but we will get through this together, as a family, because that's what Alexander would have wanted. Jasper wanted to walk out. He wanted to stand up and tell everyone the truth, but he sat still and silent, his hands clenched in his lap. After the church service, they went to the cemetery. Jasper and Cole stood beside their father's grave as the casket was lowered into the ground. The same ground where their mother had been buried 4 years earlier. Catherine and Alexander, together again. At least that was something. Cole held onto Jasper so tightly he could barely breathe. Tears ran down both their faces. Around them, 800 people stood in respectful silence. After the burial, everyone was invited back to the Beacon Hill house for a reception. By the time Jasper and Cole arrived, the house was already filling with people. Neighbors and friends had brought food. The dining room table was covered with casseroles, sandwiches, fruit trays, and desserts. Veronica moved through the crowd accepting condolences with grace. She hugged people who offered sympathy. She told stories about Alexander's kindness and brilliance. She introduced Jasper and Cole as my beloved stepsons to people who didn't know the family well. An older woman approached Cole in the hallway. She had kind eyes and silver hair. "I knew your mother, Catherine," the woman said. "We went to church together before she got sick." "Really?" Cole said. He hardly remembered anyone from that time in his life. "She was a beautiful person, inside and out. She would be so proud of who you've become." Cole started crying again. The woman hugged him, and he let himself be held by this stranger who had known his mother. Veronica appeared beside them quickly. She put her arm around Cole's shoulders and smiled at the woman. "Thank you so much for coming. I need my son with me right now. We need to stay together as a family." She pulled Cole away before the woman could say anything else. Once they were in a quiet corner away from the crowd, Veronica's grip on Cole's shoulder became painful. "Stop crying so much," she hissed in his ear. "You're embarrassing me in front of all these people. Pull yourself together." Cole pulled away and went upstairs to his room. He locked the door and lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Downstairs he could hear people talking and laughing. How could anyone laugh today? In another room, Jasper was talking to his father's business partner, a man named Richard Chen. "Your father mentioned you want to study economics," Mr. Chen said. "Yes, sir. I got accepted to MIT, Jasper replied. "Alexander talked about that all the time. He was so excited. He said you and your brother were going to do great things." Jasper felt his throat tighten. He had to excuse himself and walk quickly to the bathroom. Inside, he locked the door and gripped the edge of the sink, trying to breathe normally. His father had been proud of him. His father had bragged about him to other people. Why had his father never told him directly? By 6 o'clock that evening, the last guests finally left. The house was a mess. Paper plates and cups were everywhere. Leftover food covered the tables. Someone had spilled wine on the carpet in the living room. Veronica immediately went upstairs to the master bedroom without saying a word to Jasper or Cole. They heard her door close and lock. The twins started cleaning up. They threw away trash, put food in containers, wiped down tables. They worked in silence, their bodies moving automatically while their minds were somewhere else. At 8 o'clock, they finished. The house was clean again, but it felt empty without their father. It felt wrong. "I want to go to Dad's office," Cole said. Jasper nodded. They walked down the hallway to their father's home office. The door was closed. Jasper opened it carefully. Everything was exactly as Alexander had left it 5 days ago before leaving for Singapore. His desk was organized with neat stacks of papers. His coffee mug still sat on a coaster, half full of coffee that had long since gone cold. His reading glasses were folded next to his computer. His leather briefcase leaned against the desk. Jasper sat in his father's chair. Cole sat in the smaller chair across from the desk where he had sat many times doing homework while their father worked late into the night. The walls were covered with framed photos and diplomas. Alexander's business degree from MIT hung beside his MBA from Harvard. Photos of the twins at different ages sat on the bookshelf, and in the place of honor on the desk, in a silver frame, was a photo of Catherine. Their mother smiled at the camera, young and healthy and alive. Cole opened one of the desk drawers. He wasn't looking for anything specific. He just needed to feel close to his father. Inside the drawer were pens, paper clips, sticky notes, and business cards. He picked up one of the business cards. It was for Harrison Montgomery, their father's lawyer. On the back of the card, there was a handwritten note in their father's writing. "Call next week. Important. Update will." The note was dated 2 weeks before their father's death. Cole showed the card to Jasper. "Look at this." Jasper took it and read the note. His father had written important and underlined it. He had planned to update his will, and 1 week later, he had gone to Mr. Montgomery and done exactly that. He really did it, Jasper said quietly. He really protected us. But now he's gone, Cole said, and we have to survive Veronica until we turn 18. That's 3 months, Jasper said. Just 3 months, but the next 3 months would be the worst of their lives. The day after the funeral, Veronica stopped pretending entirely. She went through Alexander's office, boxing up his personal items without sentiment. She called interior decorators to talk about remodeling. She had real estate agents come to appraise the house. "I'm thinking of selling and buying something in the Hamptons," she told one agent cheerfully as Jasper passed by in the hallway. "Something right on the beach. A fresh start." She also told the twins that they would need to find somewhere else to live after graduation. "I'm not running a hotel for adult children," she said one morning at breakfast. "Your father spoiled you with free room and board. That ends the day you turn 18. They had 3 months until their 18th birthday in January. Veronica also started invading their privacy. She went into their bedrooms while they were at school. She went through their drawers and closets. She moved things around, leaving evidence that she had been there. One afternoon, Jasper came home and immediately knew someone had been in his room. His dresser drawers were slightly open. His closet door wasn't closed all the way. He looked around carefully, trying to figure out what she had been looking for. Then he noticed. The framed photo of his mother that always sat on his dresser was gone. His heart started racing. He looked on the floor, in the drawers, under the bed. The photo wasn't there. It was the only copy he had of that particular picture. His mother at his and Cole's 10th birthday party, hugging both of them, all three of them laughing. He ran downstairs where Veronica was sitting in the living room watching television. "Where is my mother's photo?" Veronica looked up slowly from the TV. "What are you talking about?" "The photo that was on my dresser. The one in the silver frame. Where is it?" "I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe you lost it." "I didn't lose it. It was on my dresser this morning." "You took it. Are you calling me a liar?" Veronica stood up and walked close to Jasper. "You are just like your father, always making up stories about me, always trying to make me look bad. You went through my room. You took my mother's photo," Jasper said. His voice was getting louder. Veronica laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Your precious mother. You and Cole act like she was some kind of saint. She was just a woman who got sick and died. There was nothing special about her. You need to stop worshiping a dead woman and move on with your lives." Jasper's hand moved before he could think. He slapped Veronica across the face. The sound echoed in the quiet room. Veronica's head turned from the force of the slap. A red mark appeared on her cheek. For several seconds, nobody moved. Jasper's hand stung. He couldn't believe what he had just done. Veronica slowly touched her face. Then she smiled. It was the most frightening smile Jasper had ever seen. "You just made a very big mistake," Veronica said quietly. "When the lawyer reads your father's will and I inherit everything, you and your brother are going to be out on the street. I'm going to throw you out of this house and you will have nothing. Nothing. Do you hear me?" Cole appeared in the doorway. He had just gotten home and heard the confrontation. "What happened?" "Your brother just assaulted me," Veronica said. She was still smiling. "But it doesn't matter. Soon you will both be gone. This house is mine. The money is mine. Everything your father built is mine. And you are nothing. You were always nothing, just mistakes who never deserved Alexander's love." Cole walked over and took Jasper's arm. "Come on," he said quietly. He pulled Jasper away from Veronica, and they went upstairs to Jasper's room. Jasper was shaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I lost control." "She deserved it," Cole said. "But now she's going to throw us out." "We're going to lose everything," Jasper said. He sat on his bed with his head in his hands. "We don't know that. Dad changed his will. Mr. Montgomery said we're protected. But what if it doesn't hold up? What if she contests it and wins?" They sat together in Jasper's room as the afternoon faded to evening. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but they knew the will reading was scheduled for the following week. One way or another, their future would be decided soon. That evening, they heard Veronica on the phone in the living room. Her voice carried up the stairs. "Yes, Mr. Montgomery, I want to schedule the will reading as soon as possible. I want this settled. I want to move forward with my life." There was a pause while she listened. 1 week from today. That works perfectly. Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Yes, I'll be there. Thank you. She hung up the phone. Jasper and Cole heard her climb the stairs. She walked past Jasper's room, and they heard her laughing softly to herself. She thinks she's won, Cole whispered. Maybe she has, Jasper said quietly. They both knew what would happen at the will reading. Veronica was Alexander's wife. She would inherit everything. The house, the businesses, the money, all of it. And the first thing she would do was kick Jasper and Cole out with nothing. That night, after Veronica went to bed, Jasper and Cole met in Cole's room. They spoke in whispers, even though Veronica's bedroom was at the other end of the hall. We need to prepare, Jasper said. After the will reading, she might throw us out immediately. We need to have a plan. Where will we go? Cole asked. I have $800 saved from my job at the bookstore last summer. How much do you have? About $600 from tutoring. That's $1,400. It's not much, but we can find a cheap apartment. Share a place until college starts in the fall. They spent the next hour on Jasper's laptop searching for apartment listings. Everything was expensive. Even the smallest studios in the worst neighborhoods cost more than they could afford with their savings. We'll figure it out, Jasper said. But he didn't sound confident. Over the next week, they secretly packed their most important belongings. Jasper packed clothes, his laptop, his journals, and documents they would need. Cole packed clothes, his architecture portfolio, his sketchbooks, and a few photos. They hid the packed bags in the backs of their closets, ready to grab and go when Veronica inevitably told them to leave. They went to school and came home and did their chores and stayed out of Veronica's way. She mostly ignored them, focused on her phone calls with lawyers and real estate agents and financial advisors. She was already spending the money in her mind. The night before the will reading, Cole came into Jasper's room and sat on his bed. We're going to lose everything Dad built, Cole said. Everything Mom left us. At least we'll be free of her, Jasper replied. Is that enough? Jasper didn't have an answer. He held his brother's hand, and they sat together in silence, preparing for the moment when they would lose everything their father had worked for and have to start over with nothing. The next morning, Jasper stood at the bathroom sink washing his face with cold water. His hands were still shaking. Today was the day they would lose everything. Cole knocked on the bathroom door. Are you almost ready? Yeah, give me 1 minute, Jasper said. He dried his face and looked at himself in the mirror. He was wearing dark jeans and the same black button-up shirt he had worn to his father's funeral. He looked older than 17. Grief had aged him. Cole was waiting in the hallway, wearing black pants and a plain black sweater. We look like we're going to another funeral, Cole said quietly. Maybe we are, Jasper replied. They heard Veronica's heels clicking on the floor downstairs. She had been awake since 6 o'clock getting ready. Jasper and Cole went downstairs slowly, dreading what was coming. Veronica was standing by the front door checking her appearance in the hall mirror. She was wearing a designer dress that Jasper had never seen before. It was black with gold buttons and a designer label visible on the sleeve. Diamond earrings sparkled in her ears. A thick gold bracelet hung on her wrist. She had bought all of it with their father's credit cards in the past 2 weeks, spending his money before she even officially inherited it. Veronica saw them and smiled brightly. Ready to go? She was happy. She thought today she would become a billionaire and finally be rid of Jasper and Cole forever. They took the T-train downtown to the Loop District in silence. The train was crowded with people going to work. Jasper and Cole stood holding the rail while Veronica sat in a seat scrolling through her phone. She was probably already planning what she would do with all the money. At 9:30 they got off at the Clark and Lake Station. Harrison Montgomery's office was in a tall glass building 3 blocks away. They walked through the busy downtown streets, past people in business suits rushing to meetings. They rode the elevator to the 20th floor. The elevator walls were mirrors. Jasper could see Veronica checking her appearance, adjusting her earrings, fixing her hair. She looked like she was going to accept an award, not attend a will reading. The elevator doors opened, and they walked down a carpeted hallway to the door with gold letters that read Montgomery and Associates Legal Services. Veronica opened the door and walked in first. Jasper and Cole followed. The waiting room had leather chairs and a glass coffee table with magazines. A young woman sat at the reception desk. Good morning, the receptionist said. You must be here for the Patterson will reading. Thorne, Veronica corrected sharply. The Thorne will reading. Of course. My apologies. Mr. Montgomery is expecting you. Please follow me. The receptionist led them down another hallway to a large conference room. Windows covered one entire wall, showing a view of the Boston skyline. A long wooden table sat in the center, with black leather chairs around it. Please, have a seat. Mr. Montgomery will be with you shortly, the receptionist said. She left and closed the door. Veronica sat on one side of the table. She placed her expensive designer purse on the chair next to her. Jasper and Cole sat across from her. The wide table separated them like a barrier. Veronica looked at them and smiled. Nervous? She asked sweetly. Neither twin answered. Jasper took Cole's hand under the table. Cole's palm was sweating. The door opened and Harrison Montgomery entered. He was wearing a dark gray suit and carrying a leather briefcase. His face was serious and professional. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, Mr. Montgomery said. He sat at the head of the table and placed his briefcase in front of him. Let's get started, shall we? Mr. Montgomery began. I know you must be eager to hear. Veronica stood up suddenly. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Before you start, I have something to say. Mr. Montgomery folded his hands on the table and looked at her calmly. He didn't interrupt. I want it on record that these two have been disrespectful and cruel to me during this difficult time, Veronica said. She pointed her finger at Jasper and Cole. Alexander wasted years of his life on these children. They are not real thorns. They were never grateful for anything he did for them. They made his life difficult. They made my life a nightmare. Cole's hand squeezed Jasper's tighter under the table. Jasper kept his face calm and looked at the table. They had learned long ago not to react when Veronica attacked them. I want them to know right now that they will get nothing from this estate, Veronica continued. Her voice was getting louder, more emotional. Nothing. Do you hear me? You are mistakes who never deserved Alexander's love or his money. She was breathing hard now, her face flushed. You should leave Boston and never come back. Nobody wants you here. You have nothing. You are nothing. She laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that echoed in the conference room. The room went silent. Veronica was breathing hard, her chest heaving. She had finally said everything she had wanted to say for 4 years. All the cruelty that she usually saved for private moments, she had just unleashed in front of a witness. Mr. Montgomery waited a few more seconds to make sure she was finished. Then he reached down and opened his briefcase. He pulled out a sealed manila envelope. Please sit down, Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Montgomery said. His voice was firm now, not the polite tone from before. Veronica laughed and sat down. Fine. Read the will so I can get my money and these two can leave. Mr. Montgomery looked at the envelope for a long moment. Then he looked up at Veronica with an expression that might have been pity or might have been satisfaction. There is something you need to know before we proceed, Mr. Montgomery said slowly. 1 week before his death, Alexander came to my office. He asked me to prepare a new will. Veronica's smile began to fade. What do you mean, a new will? I mean that the will we are reading today is not the will that was created when Alexander married you 5 years ago. This is a new document that supersedes the old one. That's impossible. Alexander would have told me. He specifically asked me not to tell you, Mr. Montgomery said calmly. He opened the envelope and pulled out several typed pages. Shall I begin? Veronica nodded slowly. The color was draining from her face. Her confident smile was gone now, replaced by uncertainty. Mr. Montgomery adjusted his reading glasses and began to read out loud. I, Alexander James Thorne, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, created on October 23rd, 2024. That was 2 weeks before their father died. 1 week after he had seen Mrs. Chen's videos. 1 week after he had finally seen the truth. I hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils, Mr. Montgomery continued reading. Veronica's hands gripped the edge of the table. To my beloved sons, Jasper Catherine Thorne and Cole Catherine Thorne, Mr. Montgomery read. His voice softened slightly on their middle names, the names that honored their mother. I leave the entirety of my business holdings in Thorne Industries, all investment portfolios, all real estate properties excluding the primary residence and all financial assets. He paused and looked up from the document. The current estimated value of this bequest is approximately $1.1 billion. The room went completely silent. Jasper stopped breathing. Cole gasped quietly. Their hands gripped each other so tightly it hurt. Billion. With a B, $1.1 billion. Veronica shot to her feet. That's impossible. I'm his wife. You can't just... Please let me finish, Mr. Montgomery said. There was steel in his voice now. To my wife, Veronica Ann Thorne, I leave the primary residence located at 447 Marlborough Street, Boston, Massachusetts, currently valued at approximately $8.5 million. Veronica's mouth opened and closed. $8 million was not nothing. But compared to $1.1 billion, it was a fraction, less than 1% of the total estate. However, Mr. Montgomery continued, and Jasper heard the shift in his tone. This bequest comes with specific conditions that must be met. What conditions? Veronica demanded. Her voice was no longer confident. It was sharp with panic. From this moment forward, Veronica Ann Thorne must treat Jasper and Cole Thorne with dignity, respect, and kindness. She may not insult them, demean them, or speak cruelly to them in any fashion. She may not speak ill of their late mother, Catherine Marie Thorne. Should she violate these conditions at any time, she will immediately forfeit all inheritance rights and the property. At 447 Marlborough Street will transfer to Jasper and Cole along with the rest of the estate. The room went absolutely silent again. Then Veronica laughed. It was a sharp, desperate sound. That's ridiculous, she said. How would anyone even prove I violated these so-called conditions? This is Alexander trying to control me from beyond the grave, and it won't hold up in any court. Mr. Montgomery reached across the table and picked up a small remote control. Your late husband anticipated that response. He was an exceptionally thorough man. He pointed the remote at the wall where a large screen hung. The screen descended from the ceiling and lit up. It showed the conference room they were currently sitting in. The timestamp on the video read 1003 in the morning, 7 minutes ago. On the screen, Veronica stood pointing at Jasper and Cole, her face twisted with contempt and anger. The video began to play. Before you start, I have something to say, video Veronica said. I want it on record that these two have been disrespectful and cruel to me during this difficult time. Alexander wasted years of his life on these children. They are not real Thorns. They were never grateful for anything he did for them. The video continued playing. Every word of Veronica's speech was captured clearly. Every insult, every cruel statement, all of it documented and time-stamped. You should leave Boston and never come back. Nobody wants you here. You have nothing. You are nothing. The video showed Veronica laughing, that sharp, cruel sound. Then the recording paused, frozen on an image of Veronica pointing and laughing at two teenage boys who had just lost their father. Mr. Montgomery set down the remote and looked at Veronica. Her face had gone completely pale. This meeting has been recorded from the moment you entered this room, Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Montgomery said calmly. The cameras are hidden, but active. Your late husband arranged for this recording to document your behavior after being informed of the will's conditions. Veronica found her voice. It came out as a whisper. You recorded me without my consent? That's illegal. Actually, Massachusetts is a two-party consent state for private conversations, Mr. Montgomery replied. However, the recording you just watched occurred at 10:03 this morning. I informed you of the will's conditions at 10:11. Your verbal attack on these boys happened 8 minutes before you could have known about any conditions. The recording exists to document your true character and your treatment of Jasper and Cole. This is entrapment, Veronica said. Her voice was getting higher, more desperate. This is your own behavior, Mrs. Thorne. No one forced you to speak to Jasper and Cole the way you did. You made that choice yourself. Mr. Montgomery picked up the will document again. Furthermore, even after I informed you of the conditions at 10:11, you have continued to violate them. You called them not real Thorns. You stated they deserve nothing. You told them to leave Boston. You demonstrated precisely the kind of cruel treatment that Alexander wanted to protect his sons from. Veronica turned to Jasper and Cole. For the first time, there was real fear in her eyes underneath the rage. This is all your doing, isn't it? She said. You poisoned your father against me. You manipulated him, made him think I was some kind of monster. We told him the truth, Jasper said quietly. For 4 years we told him the truth. He finally listened. You're going to regret this, Veronica hissed. Both of you. I'll contest this will. I'll drag this through court for years. I'll make sure you don't see a penny. Mrs. Thorne, Mr. Montgomery interrupted. His voice cut through her threats like a blade. I strongly advise you to consult with your own legal counsel before making any decisions. However, I should inform you that this will is airtight. Alexander and I worked on it for 3 weeks to ensure there were no loopholes. He gestured to the screen still showing Veronica's frozen image. And this recording will be submitted as evidence in any contest. Every judge in Massachusetts will see you calling these boys mistakes. They will hear you say they deserve nothing. Your own words will destroy any sympathy you might have received as a grieving widow. Veronica stood frozen, her designer handbag clutched in her white-knuckled hands. All the color had drained from her face. She was realizing finally that she had been completely outmaneuvered. You have 30 days to vacate the property at 447 Marlborough Street, Mr. Montgomery continued. You may take any personal belongings that you brought into the marriage, or purchased with your own funds prior to marrying Alexander. Everything else remains part of the estate. I have nothing, Veronica said. Her voice had gone hollow, defeated. I came into this marriage with nothing. Everything I have, Alexander bought for me. Then I suggest you make arrangements quickly, Mr. Montgomery said. There was no sympathy in his voice. Veronica looked at Jasper and Cole one last time. The mask had completely shattered. There was no charm, no performance left, just raw hatred and defeat mixed together. You haven't won, she said coldly. You've lost your father. You're orphans. All the money in the world won't change that. She walked to the door, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. She opened it and looked back one more time. Then she left, and the door closed behind her with a final decisive sound. For several seconds nobody moved. Jasper and Cole sat in their chairs, hands still gripped together under the table, trying to process what had just happened. They had walked into this room expecting to lose everything, expecting to be thrown out with nothing. Instead, their father had protected them. Even in death, Alexander Thorne had kept his promise. Are you boys all right? Mr. Montgomery asked gently. Is it really over? Cole whispered. Is she really gone? She will likely consult with lawyers, but yes, I believe this is over, Mr. Montgomery said. Your father's will is legally sound. She has no grounds to contest it successfully. He pulled out 2 folders and slid them across the table. These contain information about the trust that will manage your inheritance until you turn 25. You'll have access to reasonable funds for education, living expenses, and emergencies. When you turn 25, you'll gain full control. $1.1 billion, Jasper said. He still couldn't comprehend the number. Your father built an empire, Mr. Montgomery said. He wanted you to have it, to protect it, to grow it if you choose, or to use it however you see fit. There is one more thing, Mr. Montgomery added quietly. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a sealed white envelope. Your father left this letter for you. He wrote it the day he updated his will. He asked me to give it to you after the will was read. Jasper took the envelope with shaking hands. On the front, in their father's bold handwriting, it said, To my beloved sons, Jasper and Cole. Would you like privacy to read it? Mr. Montgomery asked. No, Cole said quickly. Please stay. Jasper opened the envelope carefully and pulled out 2 handwritten pages. The letter was dated 3 weeks before their father's death. He began reading aloud, his voice shaking on the first words. My dearest Jasper and Cole, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and I'm so deeply sorry I won't be there to see the men you become. You are already better men at 17 than I was at twice that age. Cole started crying. Jasper's vision blurred with tears, but he kept reading. I need to tell you something that I should have said years ago. I failed you. When you came to me with the truth about Veronica, I didn't believe you. I chose to believe her pretty lies instead of trusting my own sons. I told myself that you were grieving your mother, that you were acting out, that you couldn't possibly be telling the truth about how she treated you. I was a coward and a fool. Jasper paused to wipe his eyes. Mr. Montgomery sat quietly, giving them space to grieve. 3 weeks ago, Mrs. Chen showed me videos she had secretly recorded. I watched Veronica call you worthless. I heard her tell you that your mother was weak. I saw the way you both flinched when she entered her room, and I realized that my sons had been suffering for 4 years while I looked the other way. I will never forgive myself for that. Jasper's voice broke completely. He took a breath and continued. I came immediately to Harrison and changed my will. I wanted to make sure that if anything happened to me, You would be safe from her. You would be protected. You would have the resources to build whatever lives you choose. But more than that, I wanted you to know that I see you now. I believe you now. And I am so profoundly sorry that it took me so long." Both twins were crying now, tears streaming down their faces. "Your mother, Catherine, was the best person I ever knew. She would never have let this happen. She would have protected you from the first moment Veronica showed her true colors. I honor her memory by finally doing what she would have done from the start, putting you first. Use this inheritance wisely. Help people. Be kind. Make the world better. And know that wherever I am proud of you both. You survived something you should never have had to survive, and you did it with grace and strength. I love you more than my own life. I'm sorry I didn't show it when I had the chance. Your father, who loves you always, Alexander James Thorne." Jasper folded the letter carefully and passed it to Cole. Cole read it again silently, fresh tears running down his face. Mr. Montgomery pulled out his handkerchief and discreetly wiped his own eyes. "He really saw it," Cole whispered. "He finally believed us." "He did," Mr. Montgomery confirmed. "And he spent his last weeks making sure you'd be taken care of. That's what fathers do." They sat together in that conference room for another hour while Mr. Montgomery explained trusts and investments and legal documents. He gave them his business card and his personal cell phone number. He told them to call any time, day or night, if they had questions or needed help. At 11:30, Jasper and Cole left the office building. They stood on the sidewalk in downtown Boston. People rushed past them going to lunch meetings and appointments. The city was busy and loud, but the twins stood still in the middle of everything. "What do we do now?" Cole asked. "We go home," Jasper said. "To our home." They rode the T train back toward Beacon Hill. The whole ride, they were silent, processing everything. They had gone from having nothing to having over $1 billion. Their father had saved them from beyond the grave. When they arrived at the house, Veronica's car was in the driveway. They hesitated at the front door. "She's still here," Cole said. "She has 30 days, Jasper said. "We have to deal with her until she leaves." They opened the front door and went inside. The house was quiet. They could hear movement upstairs. Veronica was in the master bedroom, probably already packing. Jasper and Cole went to their father's office and closed the door. They sat in the chairs they had sat in so many times before. The room still smelled like Alexander, coffee and leather and expensive cologne. Cole picked up the framed photo of their mother from the desk. He traced her face with his finger. "She would be proud of us," Cole said quietly. "Dad would be proud too," Jasper added. "We survived. We made it. What do we do with $1 billion? Cole asked. The question seemed absurd. "We figure it out," Jasper said. "We finish school. We go to college like we planned. And then we decide what kind of people we want to be." They heard a door slam upstairs. Veronica was moving around, her footsteps heavy and angry. But her anger didn't matter anymore. She had no power over them now. For the first time in 4 years, Jasper and Cole felt safe in their own home. Over the next 2 weeks, Veronica packed her belongings. She hired movers to take furniture from the master bedroom that had belonged to her before the marriage. She filled boxes with clothes and shoes and jewelry that she claimed she had purchased with her own money before meeting Alexander, though Jasper suspected she was lying about at least half of it. The twins stayed out of her way. They went to school and came home late. When they were home, they stayed in their rooms or their father's office. They avoided the master bedroom entirely, not wanting to see Veronica or speak to her. But on the 5th day after the will reading, Veronica came to find them. It was evening, around 7 o'clock. Jasper and Cole were in the dining room eating dinner that Mrs. Chen had prepared. Mrs. Chen herself had already gone home for the night. The house was quiet except for the sound of silverware on plates. Veronica appeared in the doorway. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, no makeup, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked tired and older than her 38 years. "We need to talk," Veronica said. Jasper and Cole looked at each other. Neither of them stood up or invited her to sit down. "What do you want?" Jasper asked. Veronica came into the room and sat in the chair at the opposite end of the table, the chair their father used to sit in. She folded her hands on the table in front of her. "I went to 3 different lawyers this afternoon," Veronica said. Her voice was flat and tired, nothing like the sharp cruelty they were used to. "I showed them the will. I showed them the recording. I explained everything." She paused and looked down at her hands. They all told me the same thing. The will is legal. The recording proves I violated the condition. I cannot win in court. No lawyer will take my case because it would be a waste of time and money. So you're leaving, Cole said. It wasn't a question. I have no choice. I have 30 days to move out, but I wanted to talk to you first. Talk about what? Jasper asked. Veronica took a deep breath. I want to try to explain why I did what I did. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just want you to understand. We're listening, Cole said carefully. Veronica began talking. She told them about growing up poor in Detroit. She told them about her mother who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't pay the bills. She told them about wearing the same clothes to school every day, while other kids had new shoes and expensive backpacks. She told them about the shame she felt, the constant awareness that she had less than everyone else. I decided when I was very young that I would never be poor again, Veronica said. I decided I would marry someone wealthy so I would never have to worry about money. I studied hard, got into a good college on scholarship, worked in business development. I went to conferences and charity galas specifically to meet rich men. That's where you met Dad, Jasper said. That's where I met your father. He was brilliant and successful and devastated by losing Catherine. He needed someone to listen to him, to comfort him. I played that role perfectly because I wanted what he had. The money, the house, the status. So, you married him for his money, Cole said. Not for love. I wish I could say I loved him, Veronica admitted. But I didn't. I loved his lifestyle. I loved being Mrs. Alexander Thorne. I loved the expensive clothes and the charity galas and the respect that came with his name. And you hated us because we reminded him of Mom, Jasper said. Veronica nodded slowly. When I married Alexander, I thought I would be the center of his life, but you two were his priority always. He loved you more than he loved me. He talked about Catherine constantly, how amazing she was, how much he missed her. I was jealous. I resented you for taking his attention. I resented Catherine because Alexander still loved her memory more than he would ever love me. So you hurt us to make yourself feel better, Cole said quietly. Yes, Veronica said. She looked up at them with red, tired eyes. I am not proud of it. But yes, when I made you feel small, I felt bigger. When I made you feel unwanted, I felt more important. It was cruel and wrong, and I knew it even while I was doing it. Why are you telling us this now? Jasper asked. Because I lost everything, Veronica said. I have no money, no house, no husband. I have to find a job for the first time in 5 years. I have to live in a cheap apartment in a bad neighborhood. I'm going back to being poor, and I realize that all of this is my own fault. She stood up from the table and looked at them directly. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. Cruelty does have consequences. You were right about that. Cole looked at Veronica for a long moment. 5 years of pain. 5 years of cruel words and cold treatment. 5 years of being told he was worthless. Could any explanation make that okay? I don't forgive you, Cole said. The wounds are too deep. Maybe someday, but not now. Veronica nodded. She had expected that answer. I understand. Jasper spoke next. His voice was calm and measured. I don't forgive you either. But I don't hate you. Hatred would hurt me more than it would hurt you. So I choose to let you go instead. Veronica's eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time, not the performance tears she had cried at the funeral. That is more kindness than I deserve. Thank you. When will you leave? Cole asked. I'll start packing tomorrow. I'll be out within 2 weeks. Veronica walked toward the door, then stopped without turning around. Your father loved you both very much. I hope you build good lives with what he left you. Then she walked upstairs. They heard her bedroom door close quietly. Jasper and Cole sat at the dining table in silence. Do you believe her? Cole asked. About being sorry. I think she's sorry she got caught. I think she's sorry she lost the money. Whether she's actually sorry for hurting us, I don't know. But it doesn't matter anymore. Why not? Because she can't hurt us anymore. We won. Not because we wanted revenge, but because Dad protected us. And now we get to decide what kind of people we want to be. Over the next 10 days, Veronica methodically packed her belongings. Movers came and took furniture, boxes, suitcases. Piece by piece, Veronica dismantled her presence in the house. The twins watched from a distance. They didn't help, and they didn't interfere. They simply waited for her to leave. On a Saturday morning 2 weeks after the will reading, Veronica packed the last of her belongings into her car. 3 suitcases, 4 boxes, and 2 shopping bags. That was all she had left. Jasper and Cole stood in the front hallway watching her make her final trips from the house to her car. Mrs. Chen stood nearby, her arms crossed, her expression carefully neutral. Veronica carried the last box to her car and came back inside one final time. She stood in the doorway looking at the house. This house where she had lived for 5 years. This house she thought would be hers forever. This house that had been her escape from poverty and her prison of her own making. "I guess this is goodbye," Veronica said. "Goodbye," Cole said simply. Veronica looked at Jasper. "Take care of each other." "We always have," Jasper replied. Veronica nodded. She pulled out her keys and removed the house key from her keyring. She set it on the hall table. Then she walked out the front door for the last time. They watched through the window as she got into her car. The engine started. She pulled out of the driveway and drove down Marlborough Street. Her car turned the corner and disappeared. "She's really gone," Cole said. "It's really over," Jasper said. "No," Cole said. He turned to look at his brother. "It's really beginning." They closed the front door and stood in the quiet house. Their house now. For the first time in 5 years, the house felt like it could be a home again. Mrs. Chen came over to them. Her eyes were wet with tears. "Your father would be so proud of you both. He loved you so much. Thank you for the videos," Jasper said. "Thank you for showing him the truth." Mrs. Chen hugged them both. "I only wish I had done it sooner. You boys suffered too long." After Mrs. Chen left for the day, Jasper and Cole walked through every room of the house together. They walked through the living room where family photos now hung on the walls. Again, photos of Catherine and Alexander and the twins from happier times. They walked through the dining room where they had suffered through so many terrible dinners with Veronica performing for their father. They went upstairs and looked in the master bedroom. It was empty except for the bed frame and curtains that came with the house. All traces of Veronica were gone. The room smelled like fresh paint. Mrs. Chen had opened the windows to air it out. "We should turn this into something else," Cole said. "I don't want to remember her here. What should we make it?" Jasper asked. "I don't know yet, but we have time to figure it out." They walked down the hall to their father's office. Everything was still exactly as Alexander had left it. His desk calendar still showed the date he had flown to Singapore. His coffee mug still sat on a coaster. His reading glasses were folded next to his computer. Photos of Catherine, Jasper, and Cole smiled from the bookshelf. "We should keep this room exactly the same," Cole said. "Like a memory," Jasper agreed. That afternoon they started removing the last traces of Veronica from the house. They took down artwork she had chosen and replaced it with paintings their mother had loved. They rearranged furniture back to how it had been when Catherine was alive. They found photos of their mother that Veronica had hidden in storage boxes and hung them throughout the house. By evening, the house looked different. It looked like home again. They ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor of their father's office, the box between them. "What do we do now?" Cole asked. "We finish high school. We graduate in 3 months. Then we go to college like we planned. MIT and RISD," Cole said. "We're actually going to be able to afford it now. Dad set up the trust to pay for everything. Tuition, housing, books, all of it. Mr. Montgomery said we'll never have to worry about student loans. It still doesn't feel real," Cole said. $1 billion. How do you even comprehend that much money?" "I don't know. But I know one thing. I don't want to just spend it on ourselves. I want to use it to help people." "What kind of people?" "Kids like us. Kids who are suffering and nobody believes them. Kids who need help but don't know where to find it." Cole nodded slowly. "Like a foundation or something. Maybe. We have time to figure it out. But yeah, something like that." They finished their pizza and sat in comfortable silence. Outside the window, the sun was setting over Boston, painting the sky orange and gold. "I forgave him," Cole said suddenly. "Dad, I know he failed us for 4 years. I know he should have believed us sooner. But he tried to make it right in the end. That has to count for something." "I forgave him too," Jasper said. "He was human. He made a terrible mistake. But when he finally saw the truth, he acted immediately. He protected us the only way he could." "Do you think he knew he was going to die?" "No. I think he was just being careful, but I'm glad he was. If he hadn't changed the will when he did, Veronica would have everything right now, and we would have nothing." They sat together as darkness fell outside. In 3 months, they would graduate from Commonwealth Prep. In 6 months, they would start college. In 3 years, they would turn 21. In 7 years, they would turn 25 and gain full control of their father's fortune. But tonight, they were just two 17-year-old boys who had survived something they should never have had to survive. Two brothers who had protected each other through the worst of times. Two sons who had finally been believed, finally been protected, finally been given the resources to build whatever future they wanted. Tomorrow, they would start planning that future. But tonight, they simply sat together in their father's office, feeling safe and loved and free for the first time in years. 3 months later, Jasper stood on the stage at Commonwealth Preparatory Academy, wearing a blue graduation gown and cap. He held his diploma in his hands. The auditorium was filled with families cheering and taking photos. Harrison Montgomery sat in the 3rd row. He had become like family to the twins over the past months, helping them navigate the legal complexities of their inheritance and offering guidance when they needed it. He was smiling and clapping as Jasper's name was called. Cole walked across the stage next. Cole Catherine Thorne, the announcer said, graduating with honors. Cole accepted his diploma from the headmaster and returned to his seat next to Jasper. They grabbed each other's hands briefly. "We did it," Cole whispered. "We made it," Jasper replied. After the ceremony, Mr. Montgomery met them outside the auditorium. He hugged them both, something he'd started doing after the will reading, showing warmth that went beyond his professional role. "Your parents would be so proud," Mr. Montgomery said. "Both of them. You've handled this entire situation with such grace and maturity. Thank you for everything," Jasper said. "For helping Dad protect us. For believing in us." "It has been my honor," Mr. Montgomery said, "and I look forward to seeing what you do next." That summer, Jasper and Cole did not take a vacation or buy expensive things with their inheritance. They lived in their Beacon Hill house with Mrs. Chen, checking on them regularly. They spent their days researching nonprofit organizations and youth advocacy programs. They sat at the dining room table with laptops open and notebooks spread out, learning about foundations and charitable giving and how to actually help young people in difficult situations. "We should focus on teenagers," Cole said one afternoon. "Kids between 13 and 18. That's when we needed help the most." "What kind of help do we offer?" Jasper asked. "Counseling for sure, support groups, a hotline they can call when things are bad at home, and maybe emergency housing for kids who need to get out of dangerous situations." Jasper wrote notes in his journal, the leather-bound book Mr. Montgomery had given him at graduation. "We'll need therapists and social workers, people who understand what these kids are going through. And it needs to be free," Cole added. Not all kids have money or insurance. They worked on their plans all summer. In late July, they met with Mr. Montgomery to discuss creating the foundation legally. They sat in his office on the 20th floor with the view of Boston Harbor behind him. "Have you decided on a name?" Mr. Montgomery asked. "The Catherine Thorne Foundation," Cole said immediately. "After our mother." Mr. Montgomery smiled. "That's beautiful. Your mother would be honored. She always helped people," Jasper explained. "She volunteered at hospitals and churches. She was kind to everyone. We want to honor her memory by helping kids who are suffering like we suffered." Mr. Montgomery helped them file the legal documents to create a nonprofit organization. He helped them set up bank accounts and connect with therapists and social workers who wanted to work with at-risk youth. He helped them find office space and navigate the complexities of running a foundation. By the end of August, the Catherine Thorne Foundation officially existed. In early September, Jasper and Cole moved into their dorm rooms at their respective universities. Jasper went to MIT to study economics and business administration. Cole went to the Rhode Island School of Design to study architecture. They were only an hour apart, close enough to visit on weekends, but far enough to have their own experiences. They talked on the phone every day, updating each other on classes and new friends and the foundation work they continued remotely. The foundation had rented a small office space in Dorchester, a neighborhood in Boston that needed resources. They had hired 2 therapists and 1 social worker. They had set up a phone hotline that teenagers could call 24 hours a day. In their first month, they received 15 calls. Teenagers who were being abused at home, kids who didn't know where to turn, young people who just needed someone to listen and believe them. By the end of their first year of college, the Catherine Thorne Foundation had helped over 50 young people. Some just needed counseling. Some needed advice on how to report abuse. 3 teenagers needed emergency housing to escape dangerous homes, and the foundation partnered with local organizations to provide safe places for them to stay. Jasper and Cole poured money from their trust into the foundation. They paid the therapists well. They rented apartments where teenagers could stay temporarily if they needed to leave home. They created support groups where young people could talk about their experiences without judgment. On a Saturday afternoon in their second year of college, Jasper and Cole were both at the foundation office in Dorchester. It was a small space but welcoming, with comfortable furniture and warm lighting. Photos of their mother hung on the walls. A teenage girl came in for her appointment. Her name was Rebecca. She was 15 years old with curly brown hair and nervous eyes. Cole met with her in the counseling room while Jasper worked on paperwork in the office. An hour later, Rebecca came out. She looked calmer than when she had arrived, less scared. "Thank you, Mr. Cole," Rebecca said. "This place saved my life. I mean that literally. I'm glad we could help," Cole said gently. "My stepdad was really bad to me. Nobody believed me when I tried to tell people. But I called your hotline 6 months ago and you guys believed me immediately. You helped me get out. You found me a safe place to stay. You helped me finish school." Tears filled Rebecca's eyes. "I'm doing better now. I'm safe. And it's because of this place. Because you believed me." Cole hugged her. He felt tears in his own eyes. "We believed you because we've been there. My brother and I, we understand what it's like when nobody listens." After Rebecca left, Cole went to Jasper's office. He sat down in the chair across from the desk. "That girl just told me we saved her life," Cole said. "This is why we're doing this," Jasper replied. "This is what Dad's money is for. Mom and Dad would both be proud," Cole said. Over the next 3 years, the twins continued their work. They excelled in their studies. Jasper maintained a 4.0 grade point average in his business classes. Cole had the same perfect grades in architecture. They were both on track to graduate with honors. But more importantly, the Catherine Thorne Foundation continued to grow. They hired more therapists and social workers. They opened a second office location. They created more emergency housing options. By their 3rd year of college, the foundation had helped over 300 young people in the Boston area. In May, 3 years after their father's death and 3 years after the will reading, that changed their lives, Jasper and Cole prepared for their college graduation. Jasper would graduate from MIT with a degree in economics. Cole would graduate from RISD with a degree in architecture. They had both been offered prestigious jobs. Jasper had an offer from Goldman Sachs. Cole had an offer from a famous architecture firm in New York. They turned down both offers. Instead, they decided to work at the Catherine Thorne Foundation full-time. "We could make a lot of money at those jobs," Cole said one evening as they discussed their decision. "We already have a lot of money," Jasper replied. "More than we could ever spend. But we only have one chance to make a real difference in the world." On graduation day, Cole stood with his RISD classmates wearing his cap and gown. When his name was called, he walked across the stage and accepted his diploma. He looked out at the audience and saw Jasper cheering from the front row. Mr. Montgomery sat beside him, both of them applauding. A week later, Jasper graduated from MIT. Cole sat in the front row cheering as his brother's name was called. They had made it. They had survived everything and made it to this moment. After both graduations, Mr. Montgomery took them to dinner at an expensive restaurant overlooking Boston Harbor. "I am so incredibly proud of you both," Mr. Montgomery said. "Your father would be overjoyed to see what you've become, what you've built with the foundation, the lives you've changed." "Thank you for everything," Jasper said. "You've been more than a lawyer. You've been family." "It has been my honor," Mr. Montgomery said. He raised his glass to Alexander and Catherine, and to the remarkable young men they raised. They clinked glasses and drank. The sun was setting over the harbor, painting the water gold and pink. Somewhere in the city, a teenager was calling the foundation hotline. Somewhere, a young person was finding safety and help. Somewhere, healing was happening because 2 brothers chose purpose over bitterness. That summer, Jasper and Cole made a major decision. They were going to expand the Catherine Thorne Foundation beyond Boston. They were going to open centers in other cities where teenagers needed help. Cole designed a building specifically for the foundation. It would have counseling rooms, group therapy spaces, a computer lab, a kitchen, and common areas where teenagers could feel safe and welcomed. Every detail was intentional, created with the needs of traumatized young people in mind. They chose Dorchester for the first full Catherine Thorne Youth Center. It was a neighborhood that needed resources, where many families struggled, where teenagers often fell through the cracks. Construction began in July. Cole oversaw every aspect, making sure the building matched his vision. Jasper handled the financial side, the hiring, the partnerships with schools and social service organizations. By October, the building was finished. It was beautiful. Large windows let in natural light. The walls were painted in warm, calming colors. Comfortable furniture filled every room. Photos of Catherine smiled from the walls, a reminder of the kind woman whose legacy inspired this work. The sign above the entrance read, "The Catherine Thorne Youth Center." On the day before the official opening, Jasper and Cole stood outside looking up at their mother's name in bronze letters. "Mom would love this," Cole said quietly. "Dad would too," Jasper added. They walked through the center together one last time before the opening. The counseling offices had comfortable chairs and boxes of tissues. The computer lab had new computers where kids could do homework or job applications. The kitchen was industrial-sized, ready to provide meals for teenagers who might not have enough food at home. The common room had soft couches and warm lighting, designed to feel safe and welcoming. "We're interviewing the final therapist candidate tomorrow," Cole said, checking his phone. "Her name is Dr. Sarah Patterson, 10 years of experience working with at-risk youth." "I reviewed her credentials," Jasper said. "She's perfect for this." The Catherine Thorne Youth Center opened on a Tuesday morning in November. Jasper and Cole arrived early to find a line of teenagers already waiting outside. Word had spread through schools and social service agencies. Kids who needed help had heard about this place. Dr. Sarah Patterson, the lead therapist they had just hired, greeted the first group of teens. She was in her mid-30s with kind eyes and a warm smile. She led them into the common room and explained what the center offered. "This is a safe space," Dr. Patterson said. "You can come here for counseling, for support groups, for help with homework, for a meal if you're hungry. You can call our hotline anytime, day or night. And if you need to leave a dangerous situation at home, we have emergency housing options. Everything we offer is completely free. You never have to worry about money or insurance." One boy raised his hand. He looked about 14, skinny and nervous. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "What do you get out of it?" Jasper stepped forward. "My brother and I started this foundation because we know what it's like to suffer at home. We know what it's like when nobody believes you. We wanted to create the help we wish we had when we needed it." The boy nodded slowly. "So you really understand?" "We really understand," Cole confirmed. That first day, 23 teenagers came through the Catherine Thorne Youth Center. Some came for counseling appointments. Some came just to look around and see if it felt safe. Some came because they had nowhere else to go. By the end of the first week, the center had served 65 young people. By the end of the first month, over 100. One Saturday afternoon, about 6 weeks after opening, a girl came into the center. She was 15 years old with sad eyes and her arms wrapped around herself protectively. She walked up to the reception desk where Jasper was working. "Is this the place that helps kids with bad home situations?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Jasper said gently. "This is that place. How can we help you?" "My stepmom is really mean to me. She says terrible things when my dad isn't around. He doesn't believe me when I tell him. Nobody believes me." Jasper felt his heart clench. He looked at this girl and saw himself and Cole at 13, 14, 15, trying to tell the truth and being dismissed. "I believe you," Jasper said firmly. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Emma, I'm Jasper. My brother and I started this center because we had a stepmom who was cruel to us too. Our dad didn't believe us for a long time. So we understand exactly what you're going through, and we're going to help you." Emma started crying. "You really believe me?" Just like that, because I know you're telling the truth. Would you like to talk to one of our counselors?" Emma nodded. Jasper walked her to one of the counseling rooms where Dr. Patterson was available. He introduced them and left Emma in Dr. Patterson's capable hands. Later that day, after Emma had finished her session and left with a follow-up appointment scheduled, Dr. Patterson came to find Jasper. "That girl is in a really difficult situation," Dr. Patterson said. "But she's going to be okay because she found us. You're doing important work here." "We're trying," Jasper said. "You're succeeding," Dr. Patterson replied. Over the next year, the Catherine Thorne Youth Center became a lifeline for teenagers across Boston. They served over 500 young people in that first year. Some came regularly for counseling. Some attended support groups where they could talk with other kids going through similar experiences. Some used the emergency housing when they needed to escape dangerous homes. Emma, the girl with the cruel stepmom, came every week for counseling. Over months, she gained confidence and strength. With the help of Dr. Patterson and a social worker from the center, Emma was eventually able to report the abuse to authorities. Her situation was investigated. Her stepmother's behavior was documented. Emma's father finally saw the truth and filed for divorce. Emma came to the center one afternoon to tell Jasper and Cole the news. "My dad finally believes me," she said with tears of relief running down her face. "He's divorcing her. I'm going to be safe." Jasper hugged her. "I'm so proud of you for speaking up, for fighting for yourself. I couldn't have done it without this place, without you believing me." After Emma left, Cole turned to his brother. "We did that. We helped save her. Dad saved us. Now we're saving others. That's how it's supposed to work." On the 3-year anniversary of their father's death, Jasper and Cole took the day off from the foundation. They went to the cemetery where Alexander and Catherine were buried side by side. They stood at the graves in silence for a long time. Then Jasper spoke. "We did what you asked, Dad. We used the inheritance wisely. We're helping people. We're being kind. We're making the world better. And we honored Mom's legacy," Cole added. "The foundation carries her name. Her kindness lives on through the work we're doing." They sat on the grass between the two graves. It was a sunny afternoon in October, 3 years to the day since Alexander had died in Singapore. "Do you think they're together somewhere?" Cole asked. "Watching us?" "I like to think so," Jasper said. "I like to think they're proud." "I forgave Veronica," Cole said suddenly. It surprised even him to say it out loud. Jasper looked at his brother. "When did that happen?" "I don't know exactly. Sometime over the past year. I was carrying around so much anger, and it was exhausting. She's living with the consequences of her own choices. She lost everything because of her own cruelty. That's punishment enough. I don't need to hate her anymore." "I forgave her too," Jasper admitted. "Not because she deserves it, but because I deserve peace, and holding on to that hatred was keeping me from being fully at peace." They sat together in the cemetery as the afternoon sun moved across the sky. 3 years ago, they had been terrified orphans expecting to lose everything. Now they were college graduates running a successful foundation that was changing lives. The journey from pain to purpose had been long and difficult, but they had made it. As they turned 21, Jasper and Cole gained more access to their trust fund. They used the additional resources to expand the Catherine Thorne Foundation even further. They opened a second youth center in Chicago, then a third in Philadelphia, then a fourth in Atlanta. Each center was designed by Cole, built with the same care and attention to creating safe, welcoming spaces for traumatized teenagers. Each center was fully staffed with therapists, social workers, and youth advocates who understood trauma and knew how to help. By the time Jasper and Cole turned 23, the Catherine Thorne Foundation operated 6 youth centers across the country and had helped over 1,500 young people. They also started getting media attention. Local news stations did stories about the foundation. National magazines wrote articles about the billionaire twins who turned their inheritance into a youth advocacy movement. Jasper and Cole declined most interview requests. They weren't interested in fame, but they accepted an invitation to speak at a national conference on youth advocacy because it would help spread awareness of the issue. They stood on a stage in front of 500 therapists, social workers, educators, and advocates. Jasper spoke first. 3 years ago, my brother and I were suffering in our own home. We had a stepmother who was cruel to us when our father wasn't around. We tried to tell the truth. Nobody believed us for 4 years. When our father finally saw what was happening, he took action to protect us. But he died before he could finish what he started. The audience was silent, listening intently. Cole spoke next. Our father left us a substantial inheritance. We could have used that money for ourselves. We could have bought mansions and cars and lived lives of luxury. But we remembered what it felt like to suffer and not be believed. We decided to use our resources to help other kids who were going through what we went through. We created the Catherine Thorne Foundation to honor our mother, who was the kindest person we ever knew, Jasper continued. We built youth centers where teenagers can get free counseling support and emergency housing if they need it. We created hotlines that kids can call 24/7. We hired people who actually understand trauma and know how to help. In 3 years, we've helped over 1,500 young people, Cole said. Some just needed someone to listen. Some needed intensive therapy. Some needed to escape dangerous homes. We provided whatever they needed. The audience started applauding. Jasper held up his hand. "We're not heroes," Jasper said. "We're just two people who survived something difficult and decided to help others survive too. Every person in this room is doing the same work in different ways. You're the real heroes. The therapists who listen, the social workers who intervene, the teachers who notice when something's wrong, the advocates who fight for children's rights. You're the ones changing the world every single day." The applause was deafening. Jasper and Cole stood on that stage, two 23-year-old men who had turned their pain into purpose and accepted the gratitude of people who understood the importance of their work. After the conference, they returned to Boston. The foundation continued to grow. They opened a 7th center in Los Angeles, an 8th in Seattle, a 9th in Denver. They also created a training program, teaching other organizations how to create trauma-informed spaces for teenagers. They shared Cole's architectural designs. They shared their operational model. They wanted other cities to replicate their success. By the time Jasper and Cole turned 25, the Catherine Thorne Foundation operated 12 youth centers across America and had helped over 3,000 young people. On their 25th birthday, they officially gained full control of their inheritance. No more trust restrictions. The entire fortune was theirs to manage as they saw fit. They met with Mr. Montgomery to sign the final paperwork transferring complete control. "What will you do now that you have full access?" Mr. Montgomery asked. "Same thing we've been doing," Jasper said. "Keep building centers. Keep helping kids. Keep honoring our parents' legacy." "Your father would be so proud," Mr. Montgomery said. "He left you money, but you turned it into hope for thousands of people. That's the greatest possible use of wealth." That evening, Jasper and Cole sat on the steps of their Beacon Hill home, the same house where they had suffered under Veronica's cruelty, the same house they had almost lost, the same house that was now filled with photos of Catherine and Alexander and happier memories. 25 years old, Cole said. "Mom died when we were 13. Dad died when we were 17. We've been orphans for longer than we had both parents. But we survived," Jasper said. "We not only survived, we built something beautiful from something painful." "Do you ever wonder what happened to Veronica?" Cole asked. "Sometimes. I heard from Mr. Montgomery a couple years ago that she moved to Florida. She got remarried, apparently. I hope she's happier now. I hope she learned something from losing everything." "I hope so too," Cole said. "I don't wish her harm. I just wish she had been kinder when she had the chance." They sat together as the sun set over Boston. The city lights began to glow. Somewhere in one of their 12 youth centers, a teenager was getting help. Somewhere, a kid was calling their hotline. Somewhere, healing was happening. "Our story isn't about revenge," Cole said quietly. "It never was. It's about justice," Jasper agreed. "Dad made sure we got justice through that will. But it's also about what we chose to do with that justice." "We chose healing," Cole said. "We chose purpose. We chose to help others instead of becoming bitter ourselves. That's what makes us different from Veronica," Jasper said. "She chose cruelty because she was hurting. We chose kindness even though we were hurting. That choice makes all the difference." 1 year later, when they were 26, something extraordinary happened. Rebecca, the girl who had come to their first Dorchester Center when she was 15, came back. But she wasn't coming for help this time. She was coming to work. Rebecca had just graduated from college with a degree in social work. She applied for a position at the Catherine Thorne Foundation and was hired immediately. On her first day of work, Rebecca stood in the office with Jasper and Cole. "I want to give back," she told them. "This place saved my life when I was 15. Now I want to save other kids' lives." Jasper felt tears in his eyes. This was what they had hoped for. The helped becoming the helpers. The cycle continuing. Over the next few years, several other young people who had been helped by the foundation came back to work there, some as therapists after finishing graduate school, some as youth advocates, some as support staff. The movement was perpetuating itself. The healing was spreading. By the time Jasper and Cole turned 30, the Catherine Thorne Foundation had grown beyond anything they had imagined when they started. 20 youth centers across America. Over 10,000 young people helped. Hundreds of employees, many of them former clients who wanted to give back. They had also started a scholarship program, providing full college tuition to teenagers who had aged out of foster care or escaped abusive homes. They had created a mentorship program, pairing young people with successful adults who could guide them. They had lobbied for better child protection laws in multiple states. The foundation that started with 2 grieving 17-year-old boys had become a national movement. On the 10-year anniversary of their father's death, Jasper and Cole returned to the cemetery. They were 30 now, fully grown men who had built lives of meaning and purpose. They stood at Alexander and Catherine's graves in silence for a while. Then Jasper spoke. "It's been 10 years, Dad. Mom, we wanted to tell you what we've done with your gifts." Cole continued. "We took the money you left us, Dad. We took the kindness you showed us, Mom, and we built something that's helped over 10,000 young people. 20 youth centers," Jasper said. "Hundreds of employees. A national movement. All because you protected us, Dad. All because you taught us kindness, Mom. We forgave the people who hurt us," Cole added. "We let go of anger and chose peace. We turned our pain into purpose. And we're not done," Jasper said. "We're going to keep building, keep helping, keep honoring your legacy." They sat on the grass between the graves. The October sun was warm on their faces. "I think about what Veronica said sometimes," Cole admitted. "After the will reading, she said we hadn't won because we'd lost our parents. She said all the money in the world wouldn't change that." "She was right about one thing," Jasper said. "The money doesn't bring them back. But she was wrong about us not winning. We won because we chose love over hate. We won because we chose purpose over bitterness. We won because we're living good lives that would make our parents proud. That's the only winning that matters," Cole agreed. They stayed at the cemetery until the sun began to set. Then they drove to the original Catherine Thorne Youth Center in Dorchester. There was an event that evening, a celebration of the foundation's 10th anniversary. Over 200 people filled the center. Current clients, former clients, staff members, donors, community partners, everyone who had been touched by the foundation's work. Dr. Sarah Patterson, who had been with them since the beginning, stood at the front of the room to speak. 10 years ago, 2 young men decided to turn their inheritance into hope. The Catherine Thorne Foundation has changed countless lives, but I want you to hear from some of those lives directly. One by one, former clients stood up to share their stories. A young woman who had been in an abusive foster home and found safety through the foundation's emergency housing program. A young man who had been suicidal and called the hotline, and the counselor who answered had saved his life. A girl who had been homeless and the foundation had helped her finish high school and go to college. Story after story of lives changed, hope restored, futures made possible. Then Emma stood up. She was 20 now, a junior in college studying psychology. She had grown from that scared 15-year-old into a confident young woman. "I came to this center 5 years ago because my stepmom was cruel to me and nobody believed me," Emma said. Her voice was strong and clear. "Jasper and Cole believed me immediately. They helped me get counseling. They helped me report the abuse. They helped me survive." Emma looked directly at Jasper and Cole. "You saved my life. And not just mine. Look around this room. Hundreds of lives saved because you chose kindness over bitterness. Because you turned your pain into purpose. Thank you." The room erupted in applause. Jasper and Cole stood at the back, both crying, both overwhelmed by the impact of their work. After the event ended, and most people had left, Jasper and Cole walked through the empty center together. They ended up in the common room, sitting on the same couch where they had sat with so many teenagers over the years. "I never imagined it would become this," Cole said. "When we started, I just wanted to help a few kids. Now we've helped thousands, and we'll help thousands more," Jasper said. "This is our life's work. This is what we're meant to do." "Do you have any regrets?" Cole asked. "About how things turned out?" Jasper thought about that. "I regret that Mom died. I regret that Dad didn't see the truth about Veronica sooner. I regret the 4 years we suffered. But I don't regret where we ended up. I don't regret the work we're doing. I don't regret the choice to turn our pain into something good." "Me neither," Cole said. "If I could go back and change things, I would want Mom to live and Dad to never marry Veronica. But I can't change the past. I can only choose what to do with the present. And we chose well, Jasper said. We chose love, Cole agreed. They sat together in the quiet center. Outside, Boston hummed with life. Somewhere in the city, a teenager was struggling. Somewhere, a kid needed help. And tomorrow, the Catherine Thorne Foundation would be there to provide it. Because two brothers had survived cruelty and chosen kindness in response. Because a father had protected his sons from beyond the grave. Because a mother's legacy of compassion lived on through the work bearing her name. Their story wasn't about a will or an inheritance or even justice, though those things mattered. Their story was about the choice that every person faces when they experience pain. The choice to become bitter or to become better. The choice to hurt others or to help others. The choice to let trauma define you or to let healing transform you. Jasper and Cole had chosen healing. They had chosen transformation. They had chosen to take the billion-dollar inheritance their father left them and turn it into hope for thousands of young people who needed someone to believe them, to help them, to tell them they matter. That was the inheritance that truly mattered. Not the money, but the lesson behind it. That love protects. That believing someone can save their life. That turning pain into purpose is the highest form of healing. As they locked up the center that night and drove home to their Beacon Hill house, Jasper and Cole knew that their work would continue for the rest of their lives. There would always be more teenagers who needed help. There would always be more centers to build, more lives to change, more hope to spread. And they would be there to do it, together, as they had always been. Because that's what brothers do. That's what survivors do. That's what people who have been loved and protected do. They pass it on. They pay it forward. They turn their own salvation into someone else's rescue. 10 years after that, while reading that changed their lives, Jasper and Cole Thorne had become exactly the men their father hoped they would be. Exactly the people their mother raised them to be. Kind, strong, purposeful, healed, and they were just getting started. If this story has moved you, if it's made you believe in the power of turning pain into purpose, I want you to do something right now. Hit that like button, not just because it helps the algorithm, but because it tells YouTube to share this story with someone else who needs to hear it. Someone who's suffering and thinks there's no way out. Someone who needs to know that cruelty doesn't have to win. That justice is possible. That healing is real. Subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips for more stories that will restore your faith in humanity. Stories about real people facing real struggles and choosing love over hate, purpose over bitterness, healing over revenge. Drop a comment and tell me this. If you inherited $1 billion tomorrow, what would you do with it? How would you turn your own pain into purpose? Because we all have pain. We all have struggles. The question is what we choose to do with them. And if you're watching this because you're going through something difficult right now, if you have a Veronica in your life, if nobody believes you when you tell them what's happening, I want you to hear this. You are not alone. Your story matters. Your pain is real. And there are people who will believe you if you keep speaking your truth. Jasper and Cole's story teaches us so many lessons. Let me share them with you. First, cruelty always has consequences. Veronica thought she could abuse those boys forever. She thought she would inherit everything and live happily ever after. But her own words, her own actions, destroyed her. She lost everything because she chose cruelty over kindness. That's not revenge. That's just reality. How we treat people matters. It always catches up to us eventually. Second, it's never too late to do the right thing. Alexander failed his sons for 4 years. 4 years of not believing them. 4 years of letting Veronica hurt them. But when he finally saw the truth, he acted immediately. He didn't make excuses. He didn't wait. He protected them the only way he could. And even though he died before he could do more, that act of protection changed everything. It's never too late to choose right over wrong. Third, forgiveness is for the forgiver, not the forgiven. Jasper and Cole forgave their father, even though he failed them. They forgave Veronica even though she tormented them. Not because those people deserved forgiveness, but because carrying hatred and anger was too exhausting. Forgiveness set them free to heal, to grow, to build something beautiful. That's the power of letting go. Fourth, pain can become purpose if we choose it. Jasper and Cole could have used that $1 billion on themselves. They could have lived lives of luxury and never thought about helping anyone else. but they remembered their own suffering and decided to prevent others from suffering the same way. They turned their trauma into a tool for healing. That's the highest form of transformation. Fifth, being believed can save a life. Think about how many times those boys tried to tell the truth and nobody listened. Think about the damage that did to them. Now think about the teenagers who call the Catherine Thorne Foundation hotline and someone believes them immediately. That belief, that validation, that's powerful medicine. If someone tells you they're being hurt, believe them. You might save their life. Sixth, legacy isn't about what you leave behind, it's about what continues after you're gone. Catherine Thorne died when her sons were 13, but her legacy of kindness lives on through the foundation bearing her name. Alexander Thorne died when his sons were 17, but his legacy of protection lives on through the will that saved them. The question isn't how long we live, it's what impact we make with the time we have. And finally, the most important lesson. The choice between becoming bitter or becoming better is the choice that defines us. Jasper and Cole had every reason to become bitter, angry, vengeful people. They were abused, orphaned, nearly destroyed. But they chose to become better instead. They chose kindness even after experiencing cruelty. They chose healing even after experiencing trauma. That choice makes all the difference. So I'll ask you again, what would you do with a second chance? How would you use your pain to help others? Because we all get to make that choice every single day. We can let our trauma make us cruel, or we can let it make us compassionate. We can let our suffering make us bitter, or we can let it make us better. Jasper and Cole chose better. Their father, despite his failures, ultimately chose to protect them. Their mother's legacy of kindness continued through them even after her death. And now, 10 years later, over 10,000 young people have been helped because two brothers chose purpose over revenge, because they believed that healing is possible, because they knew that love, real love, protects and provides even from beyond the grave. That's the story of the Billionaire twins who were told they'd get nothing and inherited everything that truly matters. Not just money, but meaning. Not just wealth, but wisdom. Not just an estate, but a legacy of love that continues to change lives every single day. If this story inspired you, changed you, moved you, share it. Share it with someone who needs hope. Share it with someone who's struggling. Share it with someone who needs to know that the story isn't over when tragedy strikes. That healing is possible. That justice eventually comes. That love wins in the end. Thank you for watching Love in Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Until next time, remember this. Your pain doesn't define you. Your choices define you. And you always, always have the choice to turn suffering into service, trauma into transformation, and inheritance into impact. The best chapters of your story are still being written. Make them count.